Okay, I guess we're live.
All
Welcome to our StreamYard with Betsy Saurdiff. Um, Betsy currently has a lot of work in our exhibit at the Northwest Minnesota Arts Council Gallery at Northland Community and Technical College in Thief River Falls. And the exhibit is called The Ceramic Art of Betsy Saurdiff. That might not be right.
Well,
I
and
should have written
and the theme is celebrations.
celebrations. Yes,
Yeah.
I forgot about that. The main point. So I'm Kristen Egerling. I'm the promotion specialist with the Northwest Minnesota Arts Council. I have Trey Everett here, and Trey is our showcase specialist. And Betsy. So
Thanks to be here.
thanks for being here with us.
Yeah.
Betsy, maybe you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Betsy Saurdiff. I live in Grigla, Minnesota with my husband, Lee, and our two dogs, Trudy and Marvin. I just retired from teaching art last spring. And I taught art for 36 years and absolutely loved it. But I've had this niggling that I really need more me time, more time to do my pottery, a passion I've had since I was, like in high school. So that's what I'm doing.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Betsy, can you just tell us, you've got, like Kristen said, you have a lot of artwork right now at the Celebrations Gallery. Tell us about what kind of art you do, and just what kind of art you do.
Sure. So I make functional porcelain pottery. My pottery is meant to be used on a daily basis. Aesthetically, I'm really very concerned with textures and contrasts in textures. So, for example, I happen to have one here. I don't know. So, texture in color, the red with the green, the texture in the undulating lines here, and just a lot of things. I really am drawn to a piece of pottery that you want to hold and investigate with your hands. It's very tactile as opposed to two-dimensional work. It's more integrated with the person using it. So I really enjoy that aspect.
Would you talk a little bit about the theme celebrations?
I've been wanting to do something about celebrations for a long time, and then with the pandemic, I, like probably everybody else on this green planet, missed celebrating with family and friends. We became too isolated and missed out on whole years, like all the birthdays and all the funerals and the baptisms and all the things that we love getting together with. So I thought, I would like to do some pottery, not so much to work to use on a daily basis, but to have for those special occasions. Like, for example, a punch bowl only comes out on a very special occasion. You wouldn't have that out just for a regular Sunday afternoon. And how would that look? And what would make it look more special? Or just any of the other things. The pedestal cake platters, it elevates the cake both figuratively and literally, makes it fancier. Just like it makes you want to look at it again. And maybe that cake will taste just a little bit better because you're enjoying it.
And Betsy, when we were setting up the gallery a few weeks ago, you were telling me when you were creating this artwork for this particular exhibit, it was really life-giving. Can you talk about what was what was different about creating this artwork? Why was it so life-giving?
I think it was different for me because I had the freedom to explore new forms. I would give myself assignments like, today I'm going to throw 3 funerary urns. But I mean, that's hard to do. It's a big enclosed form. I had to learn how to use my heat gun. How much does it take? How big should it be? A lot of research. So I was going to a deeper level. I mean, I can throw mugs, blindfolded. That's not a problem. But I think it was just so, like, I was in like research and development mode, kind of like, how would you do this? What should it look like? What would make it look the most special? How would you make a basket? I had to learn how to make a basket like the handles out of the reed. Just a lot of things that, because I had extra time, I could delve into it much deeper. That was really fun.
So would you say that many of the items in the exhibit are kind of a new concept for you?
Most are, yeah, I would say, yeah, by far most of them. There are cups that I had been doing, but they're tweaked a little bit. I had never done an urn before to that size. The stilted baskets, the other baskets. I'd never made punch bowls before. So yeah, it was. I really, really tried to go to the next level, make larger things, more complicated things.
Yeah, and you did. It's just that gallery is amazing, we do have an online version, which is on our website. Is that right,
It
Kristen?
is. Yeah.
So if you can't go to Thief River in person to see the gallery, please be sure to check the online exhibit. Betsy, so when you've been involved in art your whole life, pretty much, you've been an art teacher, and you said in high school you were interested in pottery. What's your earliest memory of artwork, or your earliest memory of you realized you loved art, or wanting to be creative?
Okay, this is going to sound really silly, but when you say first memory, this is what comes to mind. My sisters and I would sit at the kitchen table with Kerr canning lids, just the lid, and we would make our own homemade glue with water and flour. We didn't have any glue. And so my mother nicknamed us the paste potters because we would draw and paste and cut for hours and hours at the kitchen table. So paste potting was what we did. My my mother would, I was talking to Ram on the radio the other day. She would spend some Sunday afternoons she would set up the card table and paint landscapes with her oil paints. And I was always quite intrigued by that. I also really appreciated that she would take the time out of her busy schedule, 9 children, being on a dairy farm, cooking, huge garden. She didn't really have any time, but she made the time for herself. And I thought that was a really good thing to show her children, that she needed some time to fill her own cup.
Mm.
So those are very early memories.
That's great.
And then how were you introduced to pottery?
Oh, so in high school, Mr. Jim Allen at Park Rapids Area High School was a potter, and he taught me how to throw on the wheel. There was just a little tiny room in the back with 2 or 3 kick wheels, and he introduced me to it, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the immediacy of the clay, of taking just like mud and turning it into like a beautiful piece of functional something that you can use. I just it just grabbed me, and it hasn't let me go. And then I went to Bemidji State High School, or excuse me, Bemidji State University, continued to make ceramics there, even though I didn't need the credits. It was just like my me time. And then went to the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. One of my instructors there, one of my professors, I didn't know at the time, but he turned out to be really famous. He was very, very humble. His name is Warren McKenzie. He's like world famous, and I didn't know it at the time. He didn't promote himself. We just sat on wheels together and we joked around that our right leg was going to be stronger than our left because that's the leg we were using to kick the wheel. And I remember just fondly that we would have such honest, like authentic conversations when we were just playing in the clay together. So really, I was really fortunate to have a string of teachers who helped me on my way. Very important, as well as workshop presenters. I've been to some workshops that were really influential in the way I'm doing work now.
So what, talking about creativity, that's obviously important to you. How would you describe creativity, and how does that affect your life?
That's a tough one. I would like to think of not so much about excuse me, creativity, but more about authenticity. So if all the people I just mentioned, from my mother all the way up through Warren McKenzie, all those people I feel like are mashed inside me. And all those people, plus all of my experiences through life, all inside me. And so when that comes out, that's authentically me. Whereas if you had the same instructors, you wouldn't have the same experiences. Somehow it would be different. I think creativity in the pottery world is kind of hard to do, maybe in any kind of art, because gosh, everything's been done already, how can you put your mark on it to make it your own? I think that's like authentic, not creative. So I prefer the word authentic to creative.
Okay.
How, when you were a teacher, and I know you still dabble in teaching, but how did you share your authentic self, or inspire, or help your students?
Yeah, that's I think the best way to do that is just to be authentic, to be real, to talk to the students as if they're fellow artists. That's huge. It's powerful. And I think just get them where they're at, and just step by step, like what, help them to get to the next step, but slowly get them where they're at. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have some kind of process, Betsy, to so from start to finish, or maybe just getting started? What's your process? Can you create art on demand? Do you need to be in a certain mindset? Do you need to listen to music? Do you need to be by yourself? Do you need to be in nature? What's your process like?
Good question. So working in clay, I think more than many other forms of media, is really process oriented. So each stage, from wedging the clay to throwing it to surface decoration and the bisquing and the glazing, they all have to be done at a very specific time. So for example, if I throw a mug one day and then I can't get out to my studio the next day, well, then I can't put the handle on because it got too dry. So part of it is knowing how big I can make it. Like if I can make, say, 24 cups one day, and then I know I'm going to be home, then I can put handles and trim them the next day. So some of it I have to do in a logical order, just because of the process of pottery. But your other questions were really good. Like if I'm doing, like I was talking about before, research and development, like figuring things out, I either need absolutely quiet or Mozart. I can't have any words or any music with words on it because I'm just like, I can't I can't figure things out. I just need to really get into it. If I'm doing something repetitive, like maybe throwing the same thing over and over again, production like, then I can have, a podcast. I do some of my best throwing with like uh, uh, audiobooks, like serial murders and stuff going on, and I'm just like throwing my pots, and so my mind doesn't have to be quite so much focused on what I'm doing because it's the muscle memory that's taking me. So really depending on what I'm doing. Uh,
Okay.
on the days where I am like throwing a lot, my hands will be really tired by the end of the day. But those are the days, like those are really good days, like when I am just physically tired and I'm like, then I can sleep well. It's not like a stressful tired. It's just like I had a lot to do and I did it. That's a good day for me.
What about times of year? Like, is winter more productive for you than summer or fall? Or what about times of day? Do you work better in the mornings or evenings, or what's that like?
I'm a morning person, so I like to have my first cup of coffee out in the garage studio. Then I can just like start clicking. Um, Times of year, that's kind of depending on what else is going on. I have a hard time going out to the studio when it's 30 below. I'm not going to lie. I find other things to do. Like this morning, I was doing some sketches for some upcoming things. It's just like I like the warm house. If there's a lot going on in the garden, if I need um, weed the garden or something, I'll do that first thing in the morning and then come to a cool studio in the afternoon. So it really depends on what's going on. Um, Sometimes I have a hard time getting started. I just have to go out to the studio and do anything like clean, and then I'll get started. It's just that first step that I think a lot of artists have that trouble. It's just like you want to, but it's just to get started is sometimes quite hard. That's a me problem.
So you mentioned your studio. Can you talk about the studio space, and the equipment that you need to create powder?
So when my husband and I built the garage, I said I just want one little room where I can put my little wheel that I got from high school, and then I outgrew that space real fast, and then I took up the other corner of the garage. I glazed over there. Excuse me. And so I'm kind of taking over the garage a little bit. I I have 2 kilns, 2 wheels. It takes a lot of different colors of glaze. I have to store my clay. Um, so it's quite a bit of material of objects. I'm really feeling like I'm totally set. I've received several grants from the Minnesota State Arts Board and from the Northwest Minnesota Arts Council to get like the things like the wheel, a pug mill. Both of my kilns over the last like 15 years have all been funded through grants, which is amazing because you have to throw a lot of mugs to pay for a kiln. It's hard. It's really hard to get started. So now I feel like I'm really in a good place. I have all the equipment I need. I just need to work.
You showed us a mug just a little while ago. Do you have other pieces
Oh, yeah.
that
So
you could
this
show us?
this mug is heavily influenced by Stephen Hill. I took a workshop from him. It has different colors of glaze on it. This is probably my signature piece. It's an antler on top of a bowl. So I get the antlers. Sometimes I have a lot of people looking for antlers for me. I add texture to it. Sorry, I'm being a little dyslexic here. I like to add texture to the bottom.
Hmm.
these are something that kind of my signature piece. I get people asking, like, for example, I had somebody ask if I would do an antler bowl with the antler that his dad, his last deer. And so that was a really meaningful antler bowl. Also, maybe somebody's first deer that they shot. It's kind of a nice little remembrance for things like that. This is the mug I drink out of every morning. My husband does not touch it. He has one similar to it, but it's purple. I do not touch it. Our cabinet is full of mugs. A lot of them are from other potters. If I go to a workshop, I will buy their mug. And when I drink out of a mug from them, I remember all the conversations that I had with them. It's a really meaningful, it's like a connection you have with the artist that maybe you don't have so much if you buy other people's art, because it's such a personal thing to drink out of a cup that somebody else made. It's very intimate almost.
So how many pieces are in the exhibit, do you know?
Good question. Lots.
Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I can't. I'm not sure. There's probably over 100 pieces when you count all the little plates and cups. There's a lot of pieces in the exhibit, and Betsy had the idea of displaying it according to color or glaze, which really has this great feel when you walk into the gallery and you see the red wall and you know the next wall and all the different colors and how everything fits together. So it's really quite stunning when you walk in. And what Betsy is you know, as people are listening to this and watching this, can you tell us what you offer to people, to communities? You know, as far, do you do commissions? What kind of products do you make? Do you offer? Just kind of a general idea so people know.
Mm-hmm. So I talked about the antler bowls. That's a common request. Somebody will bring me antlers and say, make a bowl in brown or turquoise or whatever. Excuse me. I've made commission pieces for like weddings as gifts, whole dinner sets. That was a challenging request, but fun. I really enjoy a challenge. Probably my favorite thing is when I can have a discussion with the person about like what they like about what they see. Would you like this in a different color? Would you? So they have a back and forth discussion about maybe colors, what they like about it. Maybe the handle should be different, and so on. So they have some ownership in the creation. I really enjoy that. For example, at my open house, I was doing some demonstrations of throwing mugs, and I had somebody watch, and she said she wanted one, and I said, they're right over there, and she said, no, I want the one you just made. So she got to tell me what color she wanted it, and so I had to mark it with something. So I made sure she got that specific one. It's just things like that that are really meaningful to people. Sometimes people give me really good ideas too. Like I have cups with blueberries on them. Excuse me. And I also make butter dishes. And a woman asked if I would make a butter dish with blueberries drawn on the top of it. And it turned out really nice. So there's another item to add to my product line. And she was thrilled with it. So I really like the discussions back and forth about their ideas because they have some very good ones.
Mm-hmm. And I like the, I forget what you call them. They're the little containers you can put flowers in.
Mm-hmm. Flower bricks.
Yeah. Where did that come from? How'd you come up with that?
Well, it's a type of pot that is enclosed, And then I make a little indentation in it, let it set up till it's leather hard, and then cut it into 2 pieces. And then, so it's again very sensitive as far as time. So it's just a way of making a lid as one piece with the thing. It's all an enclosed shape, which is kind of a difficult thing to do because the clay, when it's wet, wants to just slump, right? Like my visuals here. So the same thing with those urns. That was really challenging to make a piece that is that full and has that much volume. It's easy to get a cylinder, but when it goes out and then comes in again, that was a challenge that I'm glad I did, and I want to do more. I want to make more and maybe have them larger urns, maybe sets of urns. Do some carving on some, make them more meaningful to specific people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you were telling me about the process of that, making the urns, that it's one piece at first, and can you just describe that process?
Yeah,
Everyone?
so I start with a basic cylinder and then belly it out. And so when you belly something out, here we go, ever the teacher. So right here, it's going to get weak because it's that's supporting all the weight, right? So then I took a heat gun and I hit it right there to get that to firm up, just right here, not this, because I still need to throw this. And then up here, then the top of it, when you come in, that's even more susceptible to flopping down because it's very wet. Then I hit that with the heat gun. It's like a hair dryer on steroids, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Right there to firm that up. And then it's so tricky because you don't want it too firm, otherwise you won't be able to throw it. And anyway, I keep throwing it until it is completely one enclosed ball shape. And once it's enclosed, then I can get a little bit more aggressive with it because the air inside will help support it. So then I can make that little finial on top and decide where it's going to break for the lip or the lid and so on. Fun stuff. You should try it sometime, Trey.
Wow. Yeah. I'll have to come to your studio and you can give me a lesson.
There you go.
So how did you learn to do that? Did you research it, or you just had experience from before, or how did you figure that out?
Let's see. I have some magazines, YouTube videos. There are a couple of quite famous potters who are gracious enough to show things like how to make a funerary urn, and it's not something for beginners, but it's very nice of them to show. So a lot of trial and error. I have a lot of things that get smashed and put in the reclaim, and it's a great thing about clay. You can use it again. You just mix it up and try again. I when I'm working, I oftentimes make multiples. Like when I was making the urns, I made 4 of them. The first one, I'm like, oh, that's a terrible shape and it's heavy. The next one, it was better. So then I line them up and I say, okay, which one is best and why? And then I look at it with a critical eye and it's like, okay, this one is best because the shoulder is bigger, because whatever reason it is. And then I go more down that aisle. It informs me what I'm supposed to do next. I can't have a critical eye while I'm throwing because I'm just thinking about like the logistics of it, right? Where my hands are and what the clay is acting like and so on. But if I step back, wash my hands off and look, then it comes to me right away.
And you were, I don't think it was on while we were talking right now. I think you were telling me this when we were setting up the gallery about you saw at your former art teacher's funeral, you saw that he had used it. They had used his own urn that he had made, and that's kind of some inspiration.
Very much so. So at Mr. Allen's funeral, in the front, there was a covered dish. It looked more like almost a casserole, but it was a funerary urn. And I looked at that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that handle is exactly like he taught me to make them. I still make the tops of the knobs just like that. I'm like, oh, it was just such a strong symbol for him up there. It really struck home. So at that time, I'm like, I'm going to make urns, and I'm going to make my own urn. And it will just, I don't know, it's just something very, I mean, it's what an honor to make an urn for somebody. That's pretty high up there on the honor scale.
Yeah. Yeah. And if people wanted to see your work or find out how to have you make something for them, do some kind of commission, how do they go about that? How do they see your work? How do they contact you? Yeah.
They can either call me or go to my email on the scroll. Let's see, does that give you my information there?
That just gives the link to the post about this.
Okay.
But if you go to that, then they would see your website link.
Okay. Yeah. So I have a website. I email all that on my site, betspottery.com. Super easy to remember, betspottery.com, with my phone number and everything on it. I mean, a lot of people locally, it just starts with a conversation. It's like, hey, do you want to do this for me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing as many local shows anymore. I'm doing a couple up in Ely this summer, the Ely Blueberry Art Festival, and then the Harvest Moon Festival, and then a couple in Duluth. I'm working a little bit more on juried shows. I feel like the local people really appreciated my open house I had last November about deer hunting season. It was very successful. I don't know, people maybe were just stir crazy and wanted to get out of the house, but they really enjoyed coming, shopping, having some hot apple cider and treats, seeing each other. It was just very well received. So I will definitely do that again. I enjoyed that a lot better or more than setting up a tent at like a local festival, because it was like homier. I could leave it set up. I left it set up for a whole week and people could come when they wanted. It's just a nicer atmosphere. People really liked it. So I'll do that again.
Do you have any of your work at any local stores or anything?
Not right now. I'm kind of doing more. When I went to my website, I'm like, I can't overextend myself. I'm just going to do website, open studio, and then a select few art festivals. It got to be a little bit more than I could. I didn't feel comfortable with it. So right now I'm just kind of doing more what I can handle. It's worked out okay.
And your website is really nice. It's beautiful. It's easy to maneuver, kind of find your way around. So anyone listening, check out Betsy's website, and you can see all kinds of her work. And again, it's easy to navigate. So that's nice.
Thank you. Huge shout out to my daughter, Sadie, for helping me set up my website and my Shopify site. So I couldn't have done it without her.
And you do have an enhanced listing on our site too, don't you?
I believe so, yeah.
And then on there's a link to your website too. So if people went to our website, and I think there's a search function, if they just put in your name, I think that would come up. And then they can
Okay.
If, say, you can't remember Betsy's website.
Yeah. Awesome. The council, I know I said this already, but the Arts Council has been so instrumental in getting me where I am today. When I was in high school, I had to write, I think for the yearbook or annual, whatever you call it, like my goal for life. And I wanted to go to Germany and be a potter. Well, I taught German for many years, and I guess now I'm a potter. Like, this is my full-time job. What a geek I was. But that's how long I'd wanted to be a potter, a long time. So I just feel like my feet are on the ground now, and I'm just going to go. Fun.
That's amazing.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Do you, Betsy, if somebody was watching this and really wanting to get started in the creative process, or work with art, whether it's pottery or any kind of field, what advice could you give someone?
Get out a lid, some flour, and some water, and just go. Actually, there's a little truth to that. Do what you can where you're at with what you have. At that time, that's what I had, and we had so much fun. It didn't have to be all the best stuff. We were just exploring and having fun with materials. And then as you progress, I think if you can find some good teachers, just eat up everything that they have to say, and take their nuggets of information. Everybody has something to teach you. Teachers and really everybody. Think about what makes you stop and say, wow, that's really cool. Whether it's like a sunrise or a bird, or how the light hits the bark on a tree or something, and just stop and say, what exactly is it that makes me look at that longer? Then you have something. That's an idea for a painting or a pot or a drawing or something. But if you find that where you really want to just stop, that's something. You got something there.
Nice.
Does that ever happen to you?
Oh yeah. Oh
Very
yeah.
good.
Good
Are
advice.
there, do you know, Betsy, like any workshops or good places that you'd recommend if someone's interested in learning to try pottery and maybe their school doesn't offer it? Where can they go?
Well, that's funny you should ask. I do teach some community education pottery classes. I can take 5 or 6 at a time. The next one is starting in February. It's on the Grigless School's website with the information. I don't teach any classes here at my studio because the Grigless School has 6 wheels, kiln, really everything we need. So I work through the school. That's been very successful. Students and adults alike. Sometimes we have mothers and daughters coming in together. It's super fun. They go for about 2 or 3 weeks, about 20 hours. So that would be the best thing. I offer them about every other month or every 3rd month.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, the neat thing about pottery is, it's from the earth, and so it's very grounded in the earth, and I love to watch these archaeology shows where they dig up all kinds of ancient cultural relics, and a lot of it is pottery. These everyday plates or mugs or just whatever people have created that have usually it's cracked and as they dig it up, but it's this ancient window into this culture at the time. And so I just find that really intriguing, how pottery kind of stays around, and it's a way to show what our cultures were like and what civilizations were like.
Very much so. That's kind of makes me scared to be a potter, because the thought of my work being around I'm like, oh, but it is, that's very true, Trey. If you have a cup like this and you're standing on a driveway and you drop it, well, then it's done. But if it doesn't drop, it'll be here longer than anything else, because this is like a stone. It's so impermeable. So that's the beauty of it. I think you take good care of it and it'll last a long time. Longer than you will, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Betsy, we haven't asked you about that you want people to know? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yes. Come to my reception, because I don't want to stand there all by myself. I want just a few people. My family is going to come up, and I'm super excited because they're very supportive. But it would be nice if I had just a few buddies to come and say, hey, Betsy, if they can make it. It's February 12th from 3 to 5 at the college at NCTC, right in the middle of the campus. It would just make me feel really nice to have some one-on-one conversation. Kind of helps me out.
Yeah. So that is, like Betsy said, Saturday, February 12th from 3 to 5 at Northland Community and Technical College in Thief River. You can enter door B, as in boy, and just walk in, and then the gallery's right there. And we'll have the reception right outside of the gallery, some snacks and drinks, and you can chat with Betsy and then peruse through the gallery, and it will be a nice afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you for helping get that set up, Trey.
Yep, you're welcome. My pleasure.
And parking is free. There's no cost to come.
Yep. Parking's free, and Northland does still have a mask mandate, but they do have masks right there. If you don't forget bring it, they've got them right there. But just they want everyone to know that. And yeah, and it's great. We're having a reception because for a while now we haven't been able to have receptions, and so because of COVID, and now we're starting up again. So we're looking forward to yours, Betsy. That'll be good.
We won't be able to use the punch bowls, but we can look at them, right?
Yes, that's right. That's right. And the other thing is most of Betsy's pottery is for sale. So, if you find something you like and you want to purchase it, we'll record that. You can't take it with you then, but when the gallery is over at the end of February, we'll arrange how you can pick up your purchase pieces.
Right, and they could contact me, and I could have it shipped or arrange for pickup. They can pay me with whatever PayPal, check, whatever they would like. It would just be a private conversation. But yeah, I would love to sell a few pieces. I already have. Thank you.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, it's fun. I feel like it's a real feather in my hat to have a solo show, something I've been striving for a long time. It is definitely a sense of accomplishment to have done this. So thank you again.
Oh, good. Well, it's our pleasure. You definitely deserve it. Yeah. So the gallery goes through the end of February, and you can see it. It's during normal hours that the college is in operation, which is typically Monday through Friday from 8 to about 4:30. And then again, the reception will be Saturday, February 12th from 3 to 5. So we hope to see lots of people there at that time. Let's see, is there anything else, Kristen?
No, I would just say if there are other events going on at the college, you can also stop by the exhibit and see it. So
Yes.
yeah. No, I can't think of anything. Thank you so much for joining us, Betsy, and for
Thank
creating
you.
all those wonderful pieces for this
Yes.
exhibit. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and I'll sign off. This will be available on our YouTube site, and I will take the copy of it and put a link on our website. So if anyone wants to watch this later, you can. And I think you can watch it on Facebook as well.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.